Okay, so I launched from this really interesting overlook area in this beach in Carlsbad. I don't even know what it's called, but it's right on the Pacific Coast Highway, just south of Oceanside. But it's a really beautiful beach. There were some surfers out there, and I'd been there a few times before and noticed quite a bit of activity out there. The waves were breaking kind of far offshore, but it's a pretty popular surf spot. And so I decided to go take some video. There's a really beautiful condominium or some kind of, I don't know if it's a hotel or condo complex that's up on the hill that I'm kind of facing right now. I wanted to fly towards that and get some photos and see what that was all about. But it was just kind of a fun flight I took the day that I was down there in the area, and just looked like really beautiful scenery. So I took the drone out and did this flight. I did a little bit of a range test. This was like my fourth flight with my Mavic Air 2, so I hadn't had it more than 2 weeks when I took it out to stay. So I wasn't really ready to push it too far, but I got it going. You saw the seagulls that almost crashed into the drone right there. It was kind of crazy. So it was kind of fun just flying around looking at this beach. It's a pretty cool beach because there's access from the road, and you can just park right on the side of the road and walk across the sand, put your stuff down, and you're out there in what are usually rideable waves. So that area to the north is a break. There must be a shallow spot out there where a lot of the surfers are. In front of those two jetties there that I'm looking at right now, and that road there is basically Pacific Coast Highway. So it was a day that was kind of overcast on a weekday, so it wasn't too packed with people. I mean, there's barely anyone out there, but it was a really nice day to fly. Just inland of there where I'm flying right now, I'm flying south, but just to the east, on the other side of the road, there's like a lagoon area. And at the end of the flight, I fly over that, and it's pretty cool to have that area like just on the other side of the road. So that is basically what the beach is. It's really rocky out there, so it's not like a big sandy beach like some of the beaches that I'm used to going to in Ventura and in Malibu, like Zuma and Newport. This one's a little different. I'm not really sure how accessible this area is over here. It looks all pretty rocky there, and then you could see the cliff and then the houses over there. So you can see the water is riding right up there, and that's a good view of that hotel or condo complex that I was curious about filming. So looking south down there, you can see the water going basically right up to the hillside there, and then a pretty nice view of this, whatever it is. I think it's a hotel. It kind of looks like that to me with that swimming pool area out there. But it was a really, really fun flight. The drone worked really well. I was having some problems with the gimbal, and I think I figured it out. So there's kind of like a photo I took right before I basically turned the drone and just went out west. So I kind of skipped some parts there where I turned it around and just decided to take it out over the open water. At this point, I think I was about maybe 4,000 feet away from my start point, the overlook area. And so I just kind of started flying out there. I didn't see any boats or anything out there, and I'm actually having quite a bit of fun in a previous video, the one I did after this one, where I flew in Ventura and I basically saw some boats out there and I decided to fly towards them. But on this day, there were no boats out there at all, not even like further off where I couldn't see. So it was kind of this boring flight, I guess, over the water. And so I turn around and take a look at the coast, see how far I am, and it's pretty amazing when you go out there and you turn around and get the view. So this was really a kind of get acquainted with flight with my quad. I think I'd had maybe 4 flights up until this point, so to go this far out was like a big deal for me. And here you could see I'm probably not even 3/4 of a mile offshore. And so I was at this point still learning the drone. I at this point have about 16 flights on it and have taken it out a lot further. I think this flight I went out maybe 7,000 feet, and then I kind of chickened out and came back. And this is way before the drone prompted me to turn around and come back. So again, I was kind of pushing it at this point. I was only at this level. Now I'm pushing it out to 17,000 feet and going out, quite a ways and taking the battery down a little bit further. But I'm really enjoying it, and these flights are quite a bit of fun to go out on the beach. I like it because you get pretty good signal reception. You can maintain line of sight, and there's not a whole lot of interference out here on the open water, I've noticed. So subsequent flights, I've been able to take them out quite a ways and really start pushing the envelope, like some of those YouTubers that I like to watch. Dustin Dunhill, I love watching his range test videos. Let's face it, this is why we love these drones. We take them out and get to explore areas where you can't really see. And here I was kind of playing around with the gimbal camera, which is kind of fun that you can pan it up and down. This particular flight, the gimbal worked perfectly, and then I've learned that little mode where you press the button and then it automatically centers, which is cool. So just kind of a boring flight. I'm going to get out a little further and then I'm going to speed up the video. So at the point where I took it out about maybe 7,000 feet, I think I maybe went around 8,000. That's when I turned around and went back. And then I wanted to go over the road and explore that little estuary area, that inland water area that I spoke about at the very beginning. So at this point I was, thinking about turning around. I just wanted to get a view of the coast there to see, what it looked like to be this far out when you turn around and look, and man, it just looks like you're so far out. So I'm speeding this part up a little bit because it's a little boring. It's just kind of going out and seeing more just water basically. But yeah, this was an unofficial range test, and like I said, each subsequent flight I'm trying to go out a little further each time, and it's been a lot of fun to do that. I've been taking it out to the beach and taking it out to this lake reservoir by my house, and then my son and I explored some areas in Angeles, the Angeles National Forest. We found a dam and a reservoir over there, so I'm going to get up there and check that out and get some video footage. It's inaccessible and you can see it from the road, and so those are the kinds of places I really want to go to, places where you're not allowed to go, but you can take your drone down there and get some good footage. So kind of fast forwarding this part of the video here where it's just flying further out over open water. On this particular flight, I think I took it out, like I said, about 8,000 feet, and at that point that was by far the furthest I'd flown it, and I wanted to get it back with room to spare. I noticed that once you get the battery down below 10%, it automatically brings it down. You can keep nudging it up and you can continue to fly it, but you certainly don't want to be forced to land out here. So that's the one drawback here. If you have any issues, then you're gone. You're going to lose your drone and never get it back. So, but on the flip side of that is you get pretty good range. At least I did. I don't think there's a whole lot of interference out there, and this OcuSync thing is pretty brilliant. I'll tell you, there was a flight I did a few days ago at Castaic Reservoir, and I took it 17,000 feet, and this is a place where you don't get cell phone reception. So I know it doesn't depend on that, and this new technology is pretty brilliant. So at this point, I was thinking like, I'm going to come back. So I went out about 8,000 feet, and I think at this time I had maybe 60% battery. So I decided to just kind of come back. So I'm, speeding this part up. And then once I started getting a little closer to shore, you'll be able to see that estuary area that I was telling you about. It's like an inland body of water that's just on the other side of the road. And I think this would be a pretty cool place, like to take kayaks or something out there. I didn't see anybody out there though. So I don't know if you're not allowed to go out there, but there was nobody there. I don't know if it's a place you can fish, but in California, we're pretty lucky to have, beautiful beaches and great water. And this is just, another example. Carlsbad is a beautiful place. So here is where I'm headed back towards shore. And at this point, I think my battery was like 55, so I knew I had plenty of juice to get back. So you'll see on the right side of this shot here, you could see that hotel or condo complex that I was talking about that I took photos of on the right hand side. But I wanted to explore that inland area. So you can see where the beach is and the jetty, the double jetty on the left hand side, and then there's the sand, and then there's Pacific Coast Highway, and then inland there's this body of water over there, which is pretty cool. So I wanted to explore that and then head on back. So I apologize. I wasn't sure if the video was still working, so I'll continue narrating. So I got back to that beach area that I flew over when I first launched, and then there's this inland. I don't know if where this water source is, but you can see there's kind of this marshy area there, and then there it is. So it's kind of interesting. There's like some islands out there, and then it looks like there's homes around there. And then basically that road that you see, okay, so I'm passing over the railroad tracks there, but that road that you see in the distance is Interstate 5. So that's I-5, and it kind of looks like this, like a lagoon, sort of an inland lagoon. And you got some houses on the side, so it just looked really cool. So decided to fly around it and get some video. I found some things out there that look like little islands. I don't know. There was this one thing that I spotted in the view of my phone, and I kind of hovered over it. It looked like a shallow spot. The one thing about this drone, I love everything about it, but I do not like having to look at my phone and using that as the view. It's hard to see, especially if it's sunny outside, and I know they have shades that you can put around there, but they kind of seem bulky. Eventually I'm going to want to get some goggles, maybe some digital goggles. I don't know if they're compatible with this drone, but I do like that FPV drone. It's kind of big, but I would prefer to be able to use the DJI digital goggles with my Mavic 2. But I'd read somewhere that it's not compatible, so maybe I'm going to be forced to buy that other drone, the FPV drone. I don't like it because it kind of looks sort of big and unwieldy, and plus, I already have this drone, which I really like a lot. But it's really hard to see in this, and I know people use iPads. Maybe I'll explore getting an iPad. I don't know, does the iPad have to have connection like your phone, or I'm not sure how that works. So I might just try it out and see, but a bigger bigger screen would be better for me. Most of this flight I was able to see, but when I was at the beach in Ventura, we literally couldn't see anything. So it was hard to tell objects in there and to fly towards them, especially like boats. And a couple of them, I just kind of stumbled upon them fortuitously. I just happened to spot a little dot on the screen that I could make out, and then I flew towards it, and sure enough, it was a boat. So I wasn't sure what this object was, so I kind of panned in on it. And I'm not sure, does this camera have a way to zoom in and out? So when I touched the screen, I thought you could do that, but evidently you can't. So when I got a little closer, I had to lower the altitude there to get a better look at that. It might have been just like a big old bunch of seaweed, who knows. But again, this is a pretty cool body of water. I didn't see anybody in it. To me, this would be a pretty cool place to put your kayak or stand-up paddleboard. It's, you know, protected because it's inland, so you're not getting the waves and that kind of agitated water, so it's nice and smooth, and it would be easy to take a personal, you know, stand-up paddleboard or something out there. So I think at that time I lost signal. I think that's why it did some of those weird things. So for whatever reason, there was some interference in that area. I'm starting to learn a little bit about the telephone wires if they're around. I've noticed that I don't get as much. So going to places where you don't have interference with either telephone wires or, you know, cell phone towers. So to go to these places where they don't have them and fly is probably the best in terms of getting the most range. So at Castaic Dam, when I got my 17,100 record for me, you know, flight, I was in an area that was away from all those things. So maybe that's part of the key. And so headed back. On this flight, I had so much juice left in the battery that when I came back that I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'll just fly some more. I was sort of done going to the areas where I wanted to go, and flying north in this area puts you in a no-fly zone. There's an airport to the northeast, and I saw on the map, on the DJI map, that you're not supposed to fly there. It won't let you launch. And when I tried to launch in an area that was restricted, I tried to do that once in the LA area because I didn't know it was a restricted area until I launched. It let me fly it, but then it only let me go out like 500 feet. And then another time when I was at the RC flying field, I tried to launch there, and this one was a no-go zone. It wouldn't let me get off the ground at all. So flying any further north in this particular flight would have put me where I think it's Palomar Airport or something, and their flight path goes right up over the ocean. So I didn't want to go that far. I didn't want to go where I wasn't supposed to go. So this was actually a pretty cool place to fly. It's like a little cul-de-sac there, and I think I tested the return to home here. So usually I'll fly the drone back to me, but here I just wanted to see what it would do. And if it would put it right there on the sidewalk right next to my car. And so I think it missed the spot by like 4 inches. So that is pretty awesome. I've had a few times where I have lost signal or it got disconnected from its signal, and at first I really panicked, but once it flies back towards you and reconnects, then you can get control of it. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, so I literally just put it right there on the sidewalk, and as it was coming down I was kind of worried it was going to hit my car, but it didn't. It found its spot and then just put itself right down. So again, this was another successful flight. Bringing the thing back in one piece, not losing it, and not getting into any trouble is success. Thanks.